Alright, how about a little shop update real quick? Since I haven't given you anything for a couple of days, and weather's been nasty, rainy, cold, windy, whatever it is, it's never right. So, anyway, lots of things going on in the shop as usual. Where do we start? Not really much progress on anything for the G0755 yet. You know, we've been puttering with little stuff with it and got a few things going on, but nothing that's really been accomplished or set in stone. Let's go over and look at the G1007. We've got quite a bit of progress done on it, so let's go take a look at it real quick. Got the head back on the mill, and we started running the wiring and putting stuff back on. This is a tachometer wire. We're fishing it down through. Had to machine it a little bit out of the top of the belt guard to clear the ball nut and screw that protrudes up through there. It's mainly the bearing. Sticks up about a ½ inch through that guard. And I'll show you that in a minute. We'll just hand hold that. But I'm going to get ready and build I'm going to 3D print a little cover for that, and then we'll probably make a casting off of that cover. I'm doing the same thing with the belt guard that goes down here. It's in printing right now, so we just got a little belt guard that's going to fit. This is the stepper motor and the limit switch set up where they belong. And let's see if we can twist around a little bit more there, get a little bit better view of it. There's our stepper motor tucked up in there. I'm going to have to check final dimensions, make sure our belt's fully engaged on the pulley that attaches to the ball nut and the linkage that runs the quill up and down. Looks like it's pretty good. I went back and re-drilled the hub on the stepper motor, so we've got it positioned, I think, far enough out. I've been monkeying with it, so it looks like it's ridden off to the side. But anyway, this is where our stepper motor tucks in, and this is our limit switch. We'll get around and probably paint those. I've got a can of paint over there that I picked up, so we'll get that going. But I like that installation, and from looking at it run when it was still over on the bench, well, I'm really happy with that. I think it's going to work well. That's about all that's going there. We'll start working on the bottom section once we get the top all reassembled and check it out, make sure everything's going to work as it's supposed to do. Then we'll go back and finish cleaning up the bottom of the mill, and I want to do a little bit of work to it before we really start using it a whole lot. But I'm getting kind of excited about it. Let me just grab this, and we'll handheld up on top so you can kind of see what I've done for a cutout up there and the way I'm going to build a guard. Alright, well, here's the way our limit switch is going to set up. I've got to rehook it up, and there's going to be our belt and the mounting up underneath it. But everything looks pretty clean there. I'm pretty happy with that. When I go up to the top, see if I'm tall enough with I'll get my ladder out. We've machined out the top of the guard to accept that. We've got the wiring that's got to run down through that. Mainly runs to the tachometer out on the front of the mill head, and then the sensor that mounts up in the front right up. There's the mounting hole, so it reads off of that magnet right there. But anyway, we're just going to 3D print a little cover that covers that hole. I'll probably I don't know if I'm going to run the actual mounting holes down through there. Eventually it will probably be a small aluminum casting, so I may just index those holes and then drill and tap a bolt down through there, or a stud down through there, probably 2 or maybe all 4, it doesn't really matter, just so we hold alignment so that it stays there, kind of covers the top and covers the top side of that bearing. Even though it's shielded, it picks up a lot of just dust and belt crap and stuff up there as we go along. So that's the way the mill's coming. I've got belts ordered for it. They will be here probably by Friday. They're scheduled to be in, and that's getting pretty close to being ready to start running it again, playing with it. So let's go look at the last little thing that's up and running here. Alright, and the last thing is the metal planer is up and running. We got the phase converter hooked up. A little bit of crap on my face there, more than usual. We've been actually doing a little bit of work today, so we've got some junk there. We'll have to do a little editing here. The last thing is the metal planer. We've got the phase converter hooked back up and plumbed in pretty well, and it's running. I still haven't replaced the bearings in the 2 motors down below, so they have to be addressed. We'll do that in the next week or so. But the phase converter is up and running. It's a pretty simple setup. I've got to relabel it from where we had it before. Once it's powered and we've got the master breaker on, hit the start button, it will engage the, I believe it's the lower motor is the first one I've got set to engage right now. And we'll add a additional wiring to this. So if we're running a smaller three-phase machine, why we've got the capability to run one of the 7.5 horsepower motors. So we're not running both of them if we don't need to. So we can do that for little things like the Logan lathe. Either of the Sheldon lathes will be smaller three-phase motors. Although the Sheldons will probably both have VFDs on them. I like that variable speed control and reverse capability built right in there. It's a lot cleaner, I think, for that particular application. We may very well have to use this on the Randmeyer Carpenter lathe. I haven't actually gone back to see if the motor for that is a three-phase motor even. So it's very possible that we may need to run this phase converter for that. So 7.5 horsepower motor, so realistically 5 horsepower motor, it will power fine. Much more than that and you're losing power and efficiency on them is kind of my take on it. You know, there's somebody else is going to have the numbers and they're going to scream and say, oh no, that's wrong, but you can run almost to the full capacity of the motor that you're running. I still got a little balancing to do on this and things like that, but it is up and running. So anyway, in that start position, it powers the first motor. That'll produce up to 5-6 horsepower, whatever, for whatever application we need. For running the planer that's got a 10 horsepower motor on it, we flip it over to 15 horse, which activates our second motor. They both together produce, you know, in theory up to 15 horsepower, but no, probably not quite, you know, 12, 13, something like that, is, from what I understand, a little more realistic. And fires it up, and it's producing power. If we only need one motor or to shut down, I flip it back to the initial start switch, and then, or the initial start position, which is 7.5 horse, and then hit the stop button and they will spool back down again. I just make it a habit to automatically turn it back to the first motor because there's not enough start capacitor set up on this to start both motors at once for the 15 horses. So start one and then it's producing power and it starts the second one, no problem. So other than that, we've had the planer running. Let me move this over here just a little bit more. Yes, we'll go walk in a minute. Go play. Okay, this is the rest of the planer. Got a cardboard box sitting on top, ignore that. But cleaned the table up a little bit more, still a little more, you know, there'll be ongoing cleaning on this and getting it oiled. We've got the oil changed in it. We've got new gear oil down the base, and the lube system seems to be working fine. Everything's mounted up on top. Like I say, we're still cleaning, adjusting, doing things like that. I have run it quite a bit already. Seems to run just fine. You know, we'll have to play with it a little bit. The next project is going to be to build some T-slots or T-nuts for the table because I only have one. And they look about like this. And this one actually came with the planer, but it's the only one I got. Now I need, I think I'm going to make about a dozen is probably. The reason being, this is the straight edge that goes with the planer. And there's a story with this that needs a little more cleaning up too. It's got a little bit of crap on it yet. There's a story with this that at some point I'll share, that this was not actually included in the auction when I initially bought this planer, but the gentleman at the University of Washington watched us load it and how we handled it and everything, and they said, here, this probably goes with that. So they threw this in. It's a big hunk of something. It is precision machined to fit down into the T-slots, and it takes 3 bolts, 3 socket head cap screws, 1/2 inch diameter, to bolt it down to the table. I still actually have the original socket head cap screws that go with this, but only one of the T-nuts. Now why, and I've got a bunch of other tooling with it, but why we only got one T-nut, I'm not really sure. But anyway, I was in town getting some materials yesterday, And I've talked before about my local metal supplier and how they have surplus stuff that I buy by the pound. And I bought, must be a 5-foot length of 1.5 inch by 1 hot roll here, and that's what's going to be some T-nuts to start with. My original plan was I wanted to set them up and I was going to go ahead and just lay it down and cut me off a hunk, lay it down, and plane my T-nuts right on the machine. But the reality is, for the size of this 1 by 1.5 inch, we do better making our T-nuts crossways in this. It just wastes too much material for me to set them up like this and plane away all the extra stuff. That's kind of foolish of me. So we're just going to take a hunk of whatever we need to where we can get about a dozen of these out of it, and we're going to set it up on the milling machine, and we're just going to manually mill them. We'll take and mill our T-slots and then go back, drill and tap them while they're all set up. Then we can go and just separate them in the bandsaw and clean up the rest of the edges, and we'll have T-slots. But anyway, I need 6 T-nuts to go with this straight edge, and then a few extra T-nuts for any other hold downs I'm going to want in the future. So since we've got a pretty nice hunk of material, I'm just going to go ahead and plan on doing about a dozen of them, and we'll see what we can start producing on this. I've got a couple of little projects that are long-term projects that I don't even have all the parts to put back together yet, but we're going to see some work done on that. I'm not going to really give that away yet, but it won't be too long. We'll be starting on those, mainly because I've got a whole lot of pieces that need to go together. So we're going to start chewing them up and seeing what we can come up with in that. So anyway, that's kind of what's happening in the shop. I'm pretty happy with this. Got a little bit of plywood cut into pieces over there. It is actually the remnants of the crate for the G0755 when we rolled it in, and I cleaned it up and cut it down the other day. We're going to build a little fold-up type spray booth for my powder coating stuff, and probably Cerakoting and things, anything, a little bit of spray painting too. But we're just going to we're looking at the back panel there. It's going to unfold actually onto the bench, onto the molding bench over there, and we're going to mount that little fan in behind as an exhaust fan, put some filters into it, and if we need to duct it out, we're going to. But anyway, that'll allow me to have a place where I can powder coat stuff without having a mess, without having to go out in the cold when it's the middle of winter and things like that. So that's another one that's gonna progress along. But it's kind of what's happening in the shop. Everything seems to be running well other than that. I do know that if you do not have your table adjusted right, when it reaches the end wall out here, which I can actually show off, when it reaches the end wall and contacts it about here, that wall really doesn't stop that planer table from moving. It still has a fair amount of force pushing it along, and the wall tends to move before the planer table stops moving. So anyway, interesting little thing. When I first fired it up, why we didn't have that problem, and I was playing with table adjustments and things, and I did a little adjustment the wrong way. So anyway, that's not a big deal. The plan is there's a door going in there anyway. So, but that's kind of what's happening in the shop. You know, little quickie shop update for you. And tomorrow I think we'll probably be starting to build some T-nuts. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of insight of what's happening. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button down there, I'd appreciate it. And if you hit that bell notification, you'll know when I put out a new video. And any comments or suggestions, leave them in the comment section for me below. And as always, guys, thanks for taking the time to watch.